The day Marcus realized his job title was his whole identity started with a LinkedIn notification. Someone from his college had just been promoted to VP at 34. Marcus closed the app, set his phone face down on the desk, and felt something he couldn't immediately name. It wasn't jealousy exactly. It was closer to the realization that he had spent 8 years building someone else's story. Marcus was a government IT manager, stable salary, federal benefits, job security that most people in his network envied. Every time a friend complained about layoffs or volatile industries, Marcus felt a quiet relief that wasn't quite pride. The job was solid. The job was reliable. The job was Marcus. And that was the problem. When your title becomes your identity, you stop calculating what you could build beyond it. The paycheck becomes the measure of your worth, not because you made a conscious decision to stop growing, but because the system made it unnecessary to keep asking the question. Daniel Kahneman called this the reference point trap. The moment a new anchor is established, all future comparisons happen relative to it. Before the stable job, Marcus compared himself to his potential. After the job, he compared himself to his salary, and his salary, by most standards, was good enough. Good enough is the most expensive belief a man with stable income can hold. It's expensive in the long run, not on the monthly statement. There. In the compounding cost of 10 years of potential not applied, of skills not monetized outside the system that underprices them, of identity narrowed to a lane that someone else drew. Marcus had skills that the market valued at 2 to 3 times what his federal salary paid. He knew it in the abstract, but he never tested it, because testing it would have required stepping outside the identity, outside the safety of being the IT manager with the reliable benefits package. That's the invisible wall the employee identity builds, not a barrier of money or time, a barrier of self-concept. The notification that night wasn't about the colleague's VP title. It was a crack in the wall, a moment when the comparison wasn't between Marcus and his salary, but between Marcus and what he hadn't built yet. He didn't act on it that night, but the question stayed. What would I be worth outside this system? Most men with stable employment never ask that question directly. They ask softer versions. What if I had more money? What if the job paid better? What if I got promoted? All of those questions stay inside the system. They assume the system is the unit of measure. The real question is different. It asks, what is the value of what I know and can do? Measured not by what this employer decides to pay, but by what the free market would price. Marcus finally asked it, and the answer was uncomfortable in the way that accurate information often is. He had 15 years of IT infrastructure experience. He had managed systems that private sector companies would have paid $200 an hour to have managed. The federal government paid him a flat monthly rate for the same work, regardless of whether he did a merely adequate job or an exceptional one. That's not a complaint about the public sector. It's a description of how the employee identity conceals the real value of what you have. When your employer sets the price of your labor, and you accept that price as the measure of your worth, you've handed over something more than your time. You've handed over your market literacy. You've stopped being able to read the actual price of what you know. Marcus ran the numbers, not emotionally, factually. He listed what he knew how to do. He researched what the private market paid for those skills. He compared the two. The gap was significant. Not because he was underpaid in an outrageous way, because his identity had foreclosed a market he never entered. He didn't quit his job. That wasn't the point. The point was to start testing the real market value of what he had, slowly, in parallel with the job, using the stability of the federal salary as the safety net that allowed him to take smaller risks than someone without it would have to take. Before we go further, I want to show you something I built after understanding exactly what we're talking about here. It's called the Free Your Mind Kit, 3 tools that work together. The ebook has 35 pages of real financial psychological diagnosis. It's not a savings tip. It's a map of the invisible patterns that trap men with stable salaries. The cost of stability calculator is an interactive tool. You enter your numbers, and it shows you the real cost of not acting, in wealth, in time, in deferred freedom. And the Free Your Mind series is 3 audio tracks of 7 to 12 minutes, made to listen to when you wake up or before you sleep, working on identity, value, and action, where knowledge alone can't reach. The 3 complement each other. The ebook creates intellectual awareness. The calculator creates emotional awareness. The audios work on identity. It's not a course. No subscription. Lifetime access. Everything for $9. The link is in the description. When you're ready. Back to what we were saying. Marcus's first test was a small consulting project. 4 hours. A private company needed a security audit on their infrastructure. His federal colleague network connected him to them. He did the work on a weekend. He charged his first independent invoice. The amount wasn't life-changing. But what it proved that the market existed, that his skills had a price the federal government hadn't set, that the employee identity, that wall of self-concept, could be walked around. That information changed how he showed up at the federal job the following week. Not because he was thinking of leaving, because he was no longer there as someone who had no other options. He was there as someone who was choosing to be there while building something else in parallel. That's a different relationship with your own labor. The comparison that LinkedIn triggered, his former classmate's VP title, stopped having the same weight. Not because Marcus stopped caring about progression, because the metric had shifted. He was no longer measuring himself only by the vertical ladder inside the federal system. He was measuring himself by what he was building outside it. 2 years later, Marcus still has the federal job. His consulting income is now at 60% of his salary. He's not ready to leave yet, and he doesn't need to be. The job pays his costs. The consulting builds his wealth. The Sunday nights still have some tension, but the tension has a different content. It's the tension of someone with more than one story running simultaneously. Not just the story of the IT manager going to the same meetings on Monday. Also the story of someone building something that compounds independently. That's the move. Not away from the stable job. Alongside it. Using its stability as the advantage it actually is, not as the identity cage it pretends to be. You don't have to be Marcus. You don't have to be in IT or government. But if you have a stable salary and the quiet feeling that it's the ceiling rather than the floor, that's worth examining. What is the real market value of what you know how to do? Not what your employer pays. The market. That question, answered honestly, is where the employee identity starts to lose its grip. Comment identity below if this reached something you hadn't been able to name. I want to know that something landed. If what you heard here made sense, the Free Your Mind kit goes deeper. The link is in the description. Subscribe. Mind of Value doesn't give investment tips. It gives a new way of thinking about money, stability, and what you can build with what you already have. The next move is yours.